Harshad and Ishita, the power couple of 2025 in real estate.
Wanted to become an astronaut. That was my dream. And then she comes along and then the life completely changes. When we got married, I had $5,000 in my account.
I was like, 6 figures? Where's your money going? Like, I have more savings than you, even in Indian rupees.
People from India coming to the US is on H-1B visas, tech workers mainly.
You see a lot of engineers and doctors from India. More than going back to India, the freedom was biggest thing.
Why do you invest in real estate? What is it about real estate that other people don't understand? All right, welcome back to the show. This is For Your Own Good. I'm Kassidy Warren. I'm here with Harshad and Ishita, the power couple of 2025 in real estate. I'm telling you, I love you guys, and I'm so glad that we got to meet 6, 7, 8 months ago now, yeah. I think. You guys are doing such great things in design, interior design, not just paint and wallpaper, but you're also doing renovations and furnishings. You're helping a lot of people figure out their short-term rental business. You're also investors yourself. I love your story because, you know, I love a great immigrant story and starting your own businesses and coming to the US and showing that anybody can make it and be successful. And so, yeah, thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for having us, Kassidy. It's been wonderful meeting you through Rick Nummer's mastermind. That's the first time we met. And then we've just been good friends and connected ever since then. So happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. And you are such an inspiration in our lives. You know, every day wake up in the morning and we get to see you. And we're working out in the gym and all your posts. And you have been such an inspiration in our life. Thank you for being a friend.
I appreciate that. And I think that's why getting in community and masterminds and doing this podcast has been so much fun, is because you get to really see what other people are doing and you get to genuinely like celebrate people's successes. Like, I can feel it with you. You can feel it with me. Like the groups that we're in, it's all about helping and building people up. And like, I absolutely love that. Whereas other places or some businesses or even some conferences or things can be really like scarcity mindset, or people are afraid of like talking about a deal because they don't want someone to steal it or whatever. And they're not sharing ideas. But I think the only way that we can really grow in society, in our industry, is to like share our ideas.
Yeah, I think, you know, one thing you mentioned, and I'll just get right into it, just came to me. So you mentioned something about being immigrants, and I just reflected something on growing up in India was such a competitive environment. It's all like cutthroat. Like we just grow up to become, as soon as you're born, they make fun about it, but there's some truth to that. Like you're either going to be an engineer, you're either going to be a doctor, and you're just going for the races. And what we are doing now, investing in real estate, doing short-term rentals, or the communities we are talking about, is such a collaborative environment. So this whole mindset shift of going from competitiveness to collaboration, it's just something that's happened naturally, but I don't think a lot of people talk about that, at least people who are coming from these immigration backgrounds. So we're all about this, okay, let's get to the head, let's get to the top, right? So that's been very, very enlightening in a way.
Yeah, I think so. And how long have you guys been in the States?
I came in 2004, so I've spent more time in United States now than back in India. So I was 17 when I left, came here 2004, wanted to become an astronaut. That was my dream. That's what got me here. Became an aerospace engineer, you know, went through college, got a great job, money in, money out, no financial education. You're just like, just having a good life, good bachelor life. And then she comes along and then the life completely changes. I'm like, holy cow, and I have someone else to be responsible for. And she had that business acumen in a way, like, okay, let's go do something. Let's like build something. And that got me inspired as well. And she came, we got married.
I moved here in 2018. And that's when we got married and I moved here. So for me, it was like a complete shift because I had a career back in India. I am starting all over again, trying to figure out what are the next moves. Do I need to venture into masters, or how do I find a career for myself? And that too in Iowa, out of nowhere, which I had not even heard that a place like Iowa existed back in India, because you would hear about California, New York, and so yeah, 2018 is when I moved, and then life happened, trying to figure out what the next moves were. So while I figured out a job for myself, and we just wanted to understand, like, we loved to travel. Travel was like a thing that connected us. And that's what we wanted to do all our lives. And how to become financially free was like the main goal. Like, how can we not depend on our W-2s? Because one of the biggest thing is we have our entire family back in India. The whole corporate structure in America, having a 15-day, 2-week job, leave that you get was not enough for us. If anything happened to our family, we wanted to go back. It was a big travel. So yeah, that's about it. So from there to now, rest is history.
My experience with people from India coming to the US is on H-1B visas, tech workers mainly, right? And so you're in IT, that's sort of the path, aerospace engineering and all that. So that's sort of the path that you took. You don't find a lot of people, or I haven't met a lot, that go into interior design and architecture and that sort of creative space. And I think maybe it's just because I'm not familiar. Is that a common job for someone in India to have, or to come to the United States and get into?
No, it's not. I've seen a lot of people come here for masters in architecture, but you don't see very many because you see a lot of engineers and doctors from India. So when I came here, Harshad was on H-1B and I came as a dependent on his visa. So the way my visa structure works, that I am allowed to work anywhere. Like, I can work in Target, I can work at a gas station, I can work in an architecture firm, I can have my own business. So the freedom on my visas is immense. So when I came here, I think there was a dash of luck that was playing by my side. I got rejected on my master's program because I did not have enough prerequisites, which in the hindsight had been such a blessing, because I then was networking in my city with the friends and that Harshad had, and I got connected to someone in an architecture firm where I always wanted to work. They gave me an internship based on my portfolio and experience that I had back in India, which was immense. And that was like foot in the door for me. And that internship converted into a full-time job. So that's how my career began in architecture. And I was working in a firm that I always wanted to work. And on the side, since my career was already going in a right direction, we were like, okay, what else can we do with our time that can have added benefit in our future?
Yeah. And you mentioned only having 2 weeks a year PTO or time off, the US corporate structure. I know Neil and I know other folks that they go back to India to visit their family, or their family comes here for months at a time, right? And it just doesn't seem like it fits with the culture. And so was that a main driver or a big driver for you, is family and people back at home?
I think both of us, we both come from entrepreneurial background. Both our fathers have businesses. So we've always seen and heard business talks in our family. I think more than going back to India, I think the freedom was biggest thing. And seeing, while our parents had businesses, and seeing the ebbs and flows and the ups and downs of business, I think the passive income and making sure that we had substantial buffer and not depend just on one job was huge for us. So we just wanted to create different sources of passive income, and then we can travel the world. So that was definitely the biggest.
100%. I mean, what I want to touch base on is also the immigration laws of the country shape a lot of what you see here. For someone from India wanting to come here, being an entrepreneur, is not easy because of some of the regulations and laws and then the waiting lines and everything that's in play. It's easy for someone. India is like a doctor and engineer factory. It's easy for someone to go through that. It's our schooling system. It's just so heavy. We cover topics that are taught here in first, second year college back in our 10th, 11th standard. So I remember when I came here in 2004, in the first 2 years of college, I'm like, holy cow, I've already done all this. I was just enjoying my bachelor life and still getting 4.0 GPAs all the way through. We have covered all that way ahead in time. So just the schooling system is a big, big impact in just how everyone goes through that system. Then, like you said, what you're known as H-1B is the big, what people see here for people coming from India is engineers and doctors, because you have to be a science, technology, engineering, math field. That's what that is. So there is not a lot of push from an immigration law standpoint, or it's not maybe as advertised as much for artists or interior designers to come in in over here and then set up a new business. Now rules are changing. There are some new things that have come up now, like you can get an entrepreneur visa, a person of extraordinary ability visa. So there are some more avenues now that people can pursue, but that's not the mainstream thing. And that's why in US, you will see people who come here, work for Apple, work for Meta, work for Google, work for all these big companies, or they're doctors. And we're used to going through college for years and years and studying and being in books and reading and just being that nerdy self. That's kind of how we grew up. Now, if you go back India, completely different landscape, there is a lot of entrepreneurship that happens back there too. It's just in our landscape in US, we don't get a lot of visibility to that aspect
because of the way the visas are set up. And yeah, and is the H-1B and other visas sort of a trap for people?
With H-1B, I feel like there's restriction. You cannot do, like, there are restrictions that come with that visa, that you can only work in that particular field that you were applied for. So that's the reason people have literally taken student loans. They have, moved from their own country to build a career for themselves. So we know so many friends that probably have the capital to do what we are doing, but do not have the guts to go against the system. And you don't have to, each one, they're restricted and they won't be able to do. But their wives who are dependent, they can start businesses, but they are just nervous about taking that bold step, which probably in our situation, when we came, we only have one life. Like, we got to take those chances, and it's not that it's illegal. You can legally have a business. Let's see how it goes. But then there's always a trade-off, right? Like, if you have to do something that is extraordinary, you have to trade off your time. You cannot go to parties. You cannot have all the fun. You cannot, you have to really hustle. After our 9 to 5, I remember we would sit and work until midnight, and weekends were just jam-packed with us connecting and working on the board, what are the next steps. A lot of initial phase just went on educating ourselves. So that trade-off of time that people are not willing to give is really pulling them back, which probably at that time we were wanting to do, and we were okay with trading that time. And it's just like the first 5 years of the hard work that you put in pays off the rest 50 years for you. So we were okay with that.
Yeah, I think that's true for anyone that's starting a business or a venture. You should plan on the first 5 years. It's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. And then the next 5 years will be hard too. But the first 5 years, you kind of do have to go heads down a little bit. And people want balance, and maybe you can find balance in sprints. Maybe you do 9 months of sprinting and you take a month off or whatever. But it just takes work and time and energy. And especially, I think you guys are a really shining example of this, to have jobs, to be immigrants, to know the rules, to do this stuff. It's just absolutely incredible. And I want to ask, is it typical in the culture for Ishita, for you or the wife to be running a business, or to feel confident enough to go do that and say, hey, I want to do this?
I'll just say that I'm very, very lucky to be born to parents who are super progressive. So being born to my father, who has always talked business with me growing up. So I've heard his falls and I've heard his successes. And he was the one who was encouraging, Ishita, you need to have your own business. You cannot be working in a corporate structure. You need to have a control of your own. And my mom has always instilled the fact that as a woman, you need to be financially independent. It doesn't matter who your father is, doesn't matter who your brother is, who your husband is. I need to have financial independence. I need to make my own money. So that has always been ingrained in me. And that's why, and I think I've been blessed to have in-laws like Harshad's parents, who have always, again, I have a great relationship with my father. We talk business day in and day out. That's what we connect on. And they have been cheerleaders. This morning, while I was on panel, and they're calling me and they're congratulating me and pushing me and cheering me up. So it's just fun. And to be born in a family has been an immense, that is what I'm the result of that.
I also agree, though, in our culture, it is very rare, like you said, for someone to go on this journey that is not a job, that is not a W-2 job. And in many ways, we find ourselves getting, I won't say alienated, but as you kind of grow into the entrepreneurship, we find less and less people we can connect to in our community, because we just can't share what we are going through with them anymore. They can't relate to us. We can't relate to them. No one's fault. It is just how our journeys kind of changed over time. And, it just, the whole cultural thing comes in where there is a thing about have a safe job. You have a job. You're getting good paycheck going one to the other. Have kids, have a family. And that's like the normal trend where everyone goes down. And what we are trying to do here is sort of off the beaten path. So everyone gets scared of the unknown. It's like, what's going to happen? What if we don't have a job? And there are real implications. So just going back to our situation, right? So we kind of talked about I'm in this position where I'm like, I might be leaving my W-2 job. So for us, we have to consider the fact that because of the immigration laws, there is no guarantees that we can be in the country long term. Everything is tied. Your decisions are based on your circumstances. It's a risk for us to do what we are doing. So as we are kind of setting up our properties, our empire, or whatever you want to call it, we have to always keep in mind that 3 years down the line, we may have to leave the country. How are we going to run our operations? How are we going to continue to do the business? So we're like, we'll figure it out. We'll make it work. Everyone can do it happen. But for a lot of people, that scares them. For a lot of people, they don't want to invest in real estate. They're like, what if I have to go back? What if something changes? Who's going to take care of all those things? So that fear factor, that unknown of the future holds people back from going down this line.
As things get lonelier and lonelier and more isolated, how important is it for you two to stay connected?
I'll let her answer that first. So we have very different approaches to this. I'm a lonely person. I can kind of live just with her and not care about anyone else in the world. She's a social person. She needs that connection beyond just me, But I feel like, hey, if you and me are on the same page, we have our plan to take over the world. I'm happy with her and my 2 dogs. I'm just kidding.
I find marriages work every day, right? And I think the beauty in marriage, if you can find friendship, and that's what I found in Harshad. He's become more of a friend because I remember in 2023 when we were living a nomadic life, when we were traveling from one side to the other, when work was the only thing because we didn't know. There were so many uncertainties around us that Harshad literally started feeling like a colleague to me. Like the whole husband disappeared because we were like waking up to the boxes, waking up to contractors, just talking about work, all, and at night it was just work talk every day, in and out. So I think we had a aha moment or a realization moment after like 9 months. We're like, Harshad, I'm really looking at you just like a colleague. Like I forgot, and that's okay. Like that is the trade-off again. Like business is not easy. It is isolating, but the fact that you have a cheerleader who's still by your side, who's still wanting to work through all the, the ups and downs that come with it. And that's your life partner, right? Like, it doesn't, yeah.
You talk about it and like, okay, well, we need to do some dates and not talk about real estate for a while,
Yeah, and the thing that we found, because I forgot until you mentioned it, we have a similar story where, we were sleeping on air mattresses and all the properties, and you had to do it.
You have to do it.
That's what you did to be successful.
Yes.
Like, there was no other real option. You needed to do the air mattress. There was the knock on the door at 6 a.m. I'm peeling the sawdust out of my eyes every morning.
Yes.
I'm not working out. I'm not you're literally waking up and just unpacking boxes. You're doing the recycling runs, the trash runs. You're talking to the contractors in the morning, the afternoon, and the night to get them ready for the next day. And then you two are ordering stuff at that night to make sure supplies show up for the next
day.
Yeah, this is the thing about doing a short-term rental business. It's really hard. And typically it's a lot of couples that are doing this. And you end up it's just the two of you because there's no time for anything else but just the two of you to get this done, especially in those early days when you haven't figured out how to scale or bring on a team or help or anything. And I remember just realizing that I was just talking this, you got to do this. And I was almost using Erin, my wife, as a note taker for me. Cause I couldn't keep everything in my mind, but and that wasn't fair to her, right? That wasn't fair to our relationship. And, and so I just people don't understand. And that's I remember looking, we've had so many moments where we look at each other and we just know that we understand what each other's gone through in these moments, and that it deepens the connection, especially when you can get through it. because there's just these things that you've done together that you have to do. You have to do to make sure that the business survives. And people that only want a paycheck, they just don't understand. And they can't, and they won't. And you can't blame them for that either.
And I think communication is the key. I think to be able to talk to that person. Like I remember telling Harshad, both of our personalities are very different. So while we were going through the grind, like you and Erin went through, Harshad is very, very critical. He will always look at the next thing. Okay, we've done this. What is the next thing that we got to jump in? And to me, that becomes a little bit overwhelming. I'm like, Harshad, we have come so far. Can we take a moment and celebrate small wins? I do not want like accolades and I do not want this recognition, but just small wins between the two of us. But that is something that I need to put it on the table for him to realize that is what I need. That's my love language. And then you work on it every day.
You have to. It really is communication.
It is communication.
And you do need to create a safe space for the other person to speak up, and they need to have the courage to speak up as well. And relationships are hard. And when you add in entrepreneurship and immigrating to the US and like all of it, there's so many layers to it. So I just think what you guys are building is really incredible. And you should call it an empire, Harshad, because you're building an empire. I don't know if you're gonna take over the world. Maybe that's a little ominous, but so let's get into it. So how did you discover real estate? What led you down the real estate route to start investing?
Well, so kind of ties back to our journey. So as a bachelor, I had no financial education. When we got married, I had $5,000 in my account. My system was very simple actually. If my bank account went less than $5,000, I'm like, oh shit, okay, let's save up. If it's more than $5,000, I'm okay, let's go spend. It's great, it's party time. So again,
I remember those days. No, that's pretty accurate. That's pretty accurate.
And then she comes along like, how long you been an engineer? 7 years? How much? Wait, what? You only got $5,000? We need to do something better.
I was like, 6 figures? Where's your money going? Like, I have more savings than you in even if Indian rupees.
He's like, well, come look at my video games.
So you're like, okay, let's find something to start doing on the side that we can both enjoy and start connecting on. So that's kind of what we got into it. So we actually first got into multi-family. We got a fourplex. We hated it because it did not really do much for her creative element, but that's kind of what the education was out there. This is like 2018. STF had picked up, but not as much. And at the time, we started first doing house hacking. That was huge for us because it's like when you're starting, the first whatever, 10, 20%, whatever you call it, when you're just getting started is the hardest. So we had a basement. We started renting it out. We started renting out $600, $700 a month to someone else. And that gave us that extra cushion to either go travel or either spend on education or like conferences, whatever that may be, And then we said, okay, well, short-term rental seems exciting at the time. We were traveling around and staying in Airbnb. And like, okay, why don't we do something like that ourselves? But we didn't have the capital to go and buy something. But we said, let's just kind of look around and see what happens. And at the time, we found a place and a realtor who had a duplex. And we kind of pitched the whole Airbnb concept to them. Like, this is what we could do. We could rent it short term. They liked what we presented to them. And they actually did like a partnership. It was like a creative deal where they said, okay, we'll rent the space to you. You guys run short-term rentals. We invested $15,000 in furnishing the whole place. And this is the day when we assembled everything. We set up everything and we get everything done. No money for anything else. And it was 50-50. So whatever profits we made, we decided to split it. So it was not like an arbitrage, but it was more of a partnership where whatever revenue we got, whatever the net profits were getting split 50-50. So that just kind of gave us that confidence boost. Like, oh, this is possible. We can make this happen. And that allowed us to like save up enough for that next investment. And at that time, COVID hit. So I remember the second property we went into contract, February 14th was the day, I forget which year now. And then COVID hit right after that, which I think was a blessing in disguise because the regulations allowed us to pull 401k, all of it without penalty. So we did that. We were to pull all that out. put that into renovation. We did all the work ourselves.
We
Looking
did
at YouTube.
flooring, we painted, we did all the work that came, learning from YouTube videos. And I wish we would have documented and
I
had
know.
had that brain power, like what social media would have done to us. We just didn't. But we did all the work ourselves, and the numbers were just mind-boggling at that time. We bought the property for like 330, put 50K in our own sweat equity in it, and in 6 months we were able to appraise that value for and cash out refi at 485. So that was great. We could pull our money back, and then that property was cash flowing 6 figures. Like the first year in COVID, where this property was in front of a lake. So we were pulling a lot of people from Chicago, Kansas City, who wanted to come and isolate themselves during COVID time. So on a 330K, we are doing like 120K.
Oh, the good old days.
The good old days.
The good old days. Yeah.
And I was like, this is phenomenal. And so that was like just an aha moment. And we literally just wanted to get into lifestyle investment. That was the goal. It was not about like building like an entire big portfolio. It was like, where do we want to go? And in the realm of it, do these value add projects and make these beautiful homes.
And so when did it shift from we're just going to buy where we want to go to let's go do it as a business, build an empire, start creating something larger?
It just happened naturally. I don't think we ever have like, okay, well, let's go do this. It was, we had the second property, and I know you hear about this BRRRR model, right? By BRRR. But until you actually go through it and you see it all the way through from buying to refi, like we got all that cash back. This is insane. And she loves doing that. Ishita would walk into a space and the first thing okay, I'm going to move this wall. I'm going to change this here. And just how our mind works. I'm like, it's okay. This is great. So at the time it was just like, let's go get a lake property. Sounds like a fun thing to do. So we went to Lake of the Ozarks, got our next place over there. And then that time, let's go get a beach property. So we went to Dustin, we got a place over there. And I don't think we thought beyond that. It was just like, what is inspiring us? What's inspiring us to own a short-term rental in a particular location? And I don't think we've been strategic. If we were being more strategic about it, we were like, let's go pick one location and grow in that market. There's a lot of efficiencies in having multiple properties in one location, but that was never the mindset at the time. And what was happening for us is that as we were working on our own projects, we were posting, like Ishita, I would post like, oh, this is the renovation work we are doing. She used to do incredible work. And I think back in 2019, 2020, there was not a lot of focus on design. You could pretty much take any property, put it on Airbnb, it made money. But she never had that approach from the get-go. She put that effort into design and curating that experience for the guest. That was always very, very important. So when we used to share that on social media, on Facebook groups, people saw that and they started reaching out to like, hey, can you help us with our design? Can you help us with my short-term rental? So that's how the design arm started, just very naturally. It wasn't like an intention. It's just like, oh, let's go do this. Let's go help out. I think our first design fee was like $3,500 for like a 4 or 5 bedroom place, back in the day.
It was peanuts at that point.
Just how it started. And I think we didn't realize that there was such a big gap in the market and the need in the market for designers. As the competition grew, as we kind of came off that COVID swell, and then more and more people started getting into the marketplace, like we have to start really getting into this. And we, that allowed our design arm to really, really start growing. And slowly that started funneling the active income. And then that's kind of what pushed us towards our next set of properties and investments.
It's just beautiful how it happens, like snowball, right? Like while we were investing, a lot of our friends were working in the engineering field. We're seeing we were observing what we were doing, and they would hear the numbers and, they were like, what are you, because all these people were just into stocks. They would only talk about stocks. They would only believe in stocks. And we were like, this is the real estate realm. And out of which like 1 or 2 friends would believe in us and they partnered with us. Like, hey guys, we have the capital. Can you guys do the work? And that's how, again, creative partnerships came for us. And that helped boost our investment portfolio, where I could put in my design expertise as well. But it was just, so one side, that investment portfolio was growing. On the other side, the word of mouth of my design was growing. So it was happening parallelly. And the design influx was so much in 2021 that I was able to replace my W-2 income, which is what allowed me to leave my W-2 and take like, okay, let's just take leap of faith. I've already replaced it and I was full-time into designing. And ever since, like, we've just grown every year. So now that has become like the biggest source in our investment pool. Like we are able to deploy that money in our investments.
Yeah. And so you mentioned a couple things. You mentioned active income and you're in the real estate realm and people are used to stocks. So what is it about real estate now that you've done it, you understand it? Why do you invest in real estate? What is it about real estate that other people don't understand or the benefits?
For me, I don't understand stocks. For me, people don't understand real estate. I don't understand stocks. That's not tangible enough for me. I can touch and feel my real estate property. I know this is where it is going to be. If that house gets wiped up, I have the land that is in my name. That's what gives me peace of mind. And on top of it, the whole value and the whole burst strategy that we have done, rinse and repeated thrice in our portfolio already by the time 2022, it was like an aha moment every time where we had a destined property. We bought it at $1 million, put $250K in. Year one performed $276K, and we were seeing that money come in our bank accounts, right? It was not like we were just talking some like stock market, like on a Friday morning, we would hear like these are the numbers. Like I was seeing that money come in and cash out refi, like we could appraise that value at $2 million at that point. That was just the numbers were talking in itself. Like we didn't have to. And that made me believe more and more in real estate.
Yeah. And so basically you put 250 in and you were cash flowing in the 6 figures. And then on that 250, the value grew up by $1 million. So you 4x'd your initial investment.
Yeah, exactly. It's a combination of things, right? Like real estate is just an interesting asset. So you have the appreciation that you can create that's completely in your control. Forced equity is how you do it, what you do it. You can be very strategic about it. It's not like stocks where you're putting money in and another company, you're kind of like, whatever happens in the stock markets, Trump says something and stocks fall down. It's out of your control. This is in your control. You can control where forced equity is going. And then you have the cash flow component of it that just over year keeps building on top. And US is great in terms of the tax regulations for real estate. So you get on top of all of that, you can do a cost segregation. We had W-2 income. I was able to write that off. I don't think I've paid taxes, in the last 3 or 4 years. So it's just because of real estate investments that allow us to like depreciate all these assets and then be able to like write off all of that. So everything just kind of just jumps on each other. And what I love the most is the fact that everything can be protected by insurance. So we just had a property burned down. Like you do all of these things, you can't get insurance on your stock portfolio, but you can get insurance on your real estate assets. So even if it doesn't work, even if it doesn't cash flow, your primary, whatever you're putting into it is protected by insurance. No one will give you insurance on your stock portfolio.
And to add to that, the whole HELOC strategy on top of it, that you can borrow money off of your property and then deploy that money on another property. So it just becomes after the third is a snowball effect and it's just growing. So there's so many avenues, and that's the reason we believe in real estate more than stocks.
You're getting me excited to go buy more real estate because it really is the only investment that does everything that you said. And so you said you haven't paid taxes, and maybe you paid a little bit, I don't know, but haven't paid taxes in the last few years. Have you made the most amount of money that you've ever made in the last 3 years?
Yeah, I think so. That's, our active income, our overall income is just grown probably 3x to 5x every year, but taxes have just gone down every single year.
Yeah, so I want people to hear that. Their income has grown 3x to 5x year over year, and they're paying zero taxes. And that's not from just spending money on expenses or buying another truck or doing that stuff, or like, we did a bunch of meals, or we had to buy all this stuff to reduce our tax bill. No, it's through buying real estate and depreciating it. And it is literally the only investment in the world. This is why I still say, for most people, buying an Airbnb is the best strategy because it's the most accessible way to get tax benefits through cost segregation depreciation because of the short-term rental loophole or the rules that allow everyday Americans, everyday workers to take advantage of these tax benefits. No other asset, no other investment can do that for you. So my advice to people that have a W-2 job, especially if it's higher paying is to go buy a house, like you said, in Destin for $1 million, whatever the most that you can afford in the best neighborhood, the highest appreciating neighborhood, or maybe it's a high cash flow area, but I like appreciation the most. So buy it nearby in the best zip code, whatever the most you can afford, go fix it up and go force appreciation on that baby and let it sit for 5 years as an Airbnb, and then either refinance or sell it. And you've just made way more money and you've reduced your tax bill, even as a W-2 employee.
Yeah, and this year, more than likely, I hope and I think we're going to get 100% appreciation back. So that is huge. And I think it's really going to steer the economy. I'm not trying to be political by any means, but it is the reality of what we are living in. And we're trying to just use that for our advantage in a way. So this year is a great year to sort of plan for that. And if we get 100% bonus appreciation back, that is huge for short-term rental.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot going on. There's just a lot going on that I don't know where it ranks on the order of things that are happening right now. So I can't tell you. But I did want to ask about your design approach, Ishita, because you incorporate not just interior design elements, but you walk into a space, like Harshad said, and you are like, I need to tear down this wall. I need to move this space. So how do you approach your design in a space for people?
I think our investment portfolio has guided that a lot for us. Like what we did in our own investment portfolio is what we are suggesting to our clients. So when a client is coming to with a project or a budget in mind, we are not only looking at that particular comp set. So let me take an example. If it's like a 3-bedroom home, yes, we can do a market analysis, market data on a 3-bedroom home comp set, and we can say these are the amenities you need, and this will be like the ceiling of your gross revenue. But we are looking for opportunities. Are there any areas that we can probably add square footage? Can we convert a big room into 2 smaller rooms and add more heads and beds in the property? Is there land that the property is sitting on that has potential where we can add landscape to and create an extension for the home, which becomes an oasis, which becomes like the most attractive feature for the property? Now, again, tying back to what Harshad said earlier, that gives us 3 different brackets where we are able to now tell the client that if you put X amount of money, you are going to get, your property is going to get appreciated to this. Now you're looking at the 3-bedroom home going to a 5 to 6 bedroom home. So you have completely appreciated the value of the money. Now your cash flow is categorized not as 3-bedroom, but as a 5 to 6 bedroom home. So there's a significant growth right there. And talk about the cost seg benefits. Like if you do a 75 to 100K, you pour into landscaping project. So we identify those design elements that is going to give them 100% tax benefit in year 1. So now you add up all these 3, that's appreciation, cash flow, and tax benefit. Our clients are getting anywhere from 75 to 150% ROI on their cash on cash, which is humongous, unheard of, right? And we are taking advantage of my background in architecture, my background in the fact that we are able to do and handle high renovation projects and taking advantage of and helping other hosts to up their.
I love that you break it down that way, because when a lot of the designs that have started hitting the market were, heavy wallpaper, neon signs, like a lot of that stuff, there's a lot of cash that's being poured into those designs to get more cash flow, but the value of the property doesn't necessarily increase, right? And so that to me breaks the real estate fundamentals. You don't want to do something to the property that when you go to sell it, it's actually going to be worth less, or you're not really increasing the value, because then you're banking only on cash flow. And especially if you're taking investor money, then you have to pay back your investors at a multiple. And if you are only banking on the cash flow, that's really hard to do. You need the appreciation, you need the value increase. And so I love that you break that down for people. We do something similar when we think about our designs. Is it cash flow? Is it appreciation? And then we say, is there some sort of like foundational thing that needs to happen, right? And I think landscaping or backyard or whatever is in that area. So like if you add a pool to a Arizona property that doesn't have one, you've done all 3 categories, right? Because you've now increased the value, usually by adding a pool and a hot tub. There's going to be more cash flow because it's an extra amenity. And then it's a foundational element that you can build off of in the backyard that, allows for more, beautification and everything of the property. So that's, I think, where people should be thinking about when they go to design this stuff. So love that. All right, hotels.
Oh yeah.
Hotels. This is how we
Itching
met.
thing.
This is
Yeah,
how we met.
met.
And so I think, I know that you closed on the Lake Chelan property. And then since then, you're doing more. Can you talk about any of it?
Yeah, we can. So we got 3 hotels. Lake Chelan is the one that is, it's about 15 unit, 13 unit currently that can go up to 17 unit. And it was our first one that we got into. And that's Lake Chelan, Washington. Then the second one we are doing is under contract, which is we're going through due diligence right now. It's 21 units, but they're effectively only operating as 15 units. But there's potential there to make it 25 units. So that seems like the numbers are going to really, really work on that one. But hoping that we go through the due diligence on that and everything checks out okay.
I'm excited about that one.
Yeah,
that's a good deal.
That seemed like a pretty good deal.
That's a home run. If there's nothing else that's
nothing else that comes out of the crawl space. Yeah. So, but that's like 60 days out. And then the third one is actually the one I'm probably the most excited about in a way too. Not to say I'm not excited about the other ones, only because it's a old decapillated jail that has been completely just sitting there, not being used at all for the last 30, 40 years. And then we're converting that into a jail-themed hotel. So this is where we're kind of talking about the experiential hotel space. And that is the one we are closing on the 18th. So that's the one that's happening here next week.
So you're already under contract, ready to close,
Ready
due
to close.
diligence done.
Yes. Yeah. So that's happening on the 18th next week.
Where is that one?
That's about an hour and a half.
It's a town called
Atlanta.
Eatonton in Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah.
A town I've never heard of.
Yeah.
That most people have probably never heard of, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And the whole point of that is it's close enough to a high, population density area. And we're trying to create an experience that people would come there for the hotel. There are lakes and other things and events in the area, but we are not essentially creating the space that people are going to come for the other thing than just find a place to stay. Our intention is that people are going to come to experience the hotel, and there are other things to do for them.
That's right.
So it's a little bit slightly different. But so that's the 3 different hotels that we're kind of working on right now.
And are you raising capital on that one, or are you raising money?
Very different. So kind of goes back, every deal is very different. And, this is going back to talking about partnerships and collaboration. And that's kind of what we love the most about the hotel space. And I feel like I need to kind of, just so that I can give context, kind of take it back a little bit from the STR world and why hotel space even began, right? So one of the last projects in the short-term rental we've been talking about doing the BRRRR model, the remodel and the forced equity on the short-term rental side. And we had this project that we did. We bought it for $660,000. We put $400,000 into it. And it appraised for 1.375. So we were able to pull a lot of our cash out, but that appraisal was just based purely on other residential comps. And it's funny when you look at the appraisal report, when you get it, they will tell you residential comps, 1.375. If you do a cash income approach, $1.7 million. I'm like,
we're losing the $400,000.
I mean, if you had an income approach to this would have been 1.7. Versus I'm restricted to 1.375 because on the residential side, they have to use the comps. And they're like, we are doing so much of this value add stuff. We need to go to the commercial space because that's where we can really maximize what we are doing and do that on the commercial. That's kind of what got us to hotel space. And the beauty of the hotel space is that now you're working on bigger things. You're finding people to partner with that can all bring what they are good at. So, for example, Lake Chelan is a deal that our partners, Donna, and they're great. They're local to the area. They understand that area the most. Donna has been working in Lake Chelan as a general manager. What we can do is we can come in and provide our expertise, Ishita's expertise in terms of design and renovations. And we also raised capital for that project. So that partnership was structured very differently in terms of what we are doing. Now we move to the weights flow. Again, we're thinking about, okay, what value can we provide? And then that partnership is structured right. Same with the Geo Hotel. They're all different partnerships. And that's the beauty of this, is that we are thinking, okay, what can we do where we can give the most to this particular project? And I think there's a quote that she loves using. So I'll let you say it about the pineapple and the watermelon thing. So
I mean, what I say is like, it's better to have a small piece of a watermelon. Small piece of a pie than have an entire watermelon, right? So it's like, it's better to have like a portion of it, something that is bigger than like an entire.
Yeah, and I like to say that hotels are a team sport. Like, you wouldn't walk onto a football field alone to try to take on the other team, right? Not that there's any, adversarial anything with a hotel, but having partners, you're so thankful in the moments where the other people are doing the thing that they're really good at, and it's the thing that you don't like doing, and they're coming through and they're already thinking about it, they're executing, right? You're problem solving together, right? Things come up. It's so much better to have good people on your team than to just try to do everything on your own. Like, people look at giving up the equity and they see it as a bad thing, and that's just not how partnerships work. That's not how real estate really is done. There's not a lot of people that are successful just doing stuff on their own. And so I just love that you guys are doing that. I think it's so great. And you're preaching to the choir with the reasons for going to hotels and commercial real estate. Same thing. I just kept looking at all the amount of work that we were doing, all the effort that we were putting in, and the refis and the appraisals, and I'm very thankful for what we built. But it's like, your time starts to be worth a lot more, especially when it can be worth a lot more. And then with hotels, if you buy them big enough, you're not even doing a ton of the work, right? You're being a leader, you're being, a manager. You're like, gone are the days of, laying floors and doing paint or having to even manage individual tasks, right? So for me, that's the thing that I'm looking forward to the most, is being able to create something really special and really give other people the opportunity to shine and do what they do really well, and operating my zone of genius with this stuff. Yeah. So
I feel like, the communities in the hotel space are team. It's a team sport. And I think that's where being part of these communities where you can connect with other people that are also wanting to do the same thing becomes so important when you're looking at the hotel space. Yeah, can you take down a hotel on your own? Absolutely. You can totally do that. You can learn it on your own. But I feel like being part of these communities where everyone's wanting to do this it's been such a shortcut for us. Like, because we are learning from each other. We're learning from other people's deals. We're being cheerleaders for each other. We're supporting each other, and also finding those relationships and partnerships to kind of grow together.
Yeah, you joined how many months ago into the mastermind?
Last July.
And you're closing on 3 hotels, and 2 of those are directly related to people that you met in the mastermind, right? Yeah. And then the ability to even know how to have the confidence. You guys are smart. You would have figured it out on your own, but still, even for me, it accelerated the timeline to be able to close on a hotel and understand everything. And
it definitely accelerated for us. Like, hotel spaces is a different beast than a short-term rental. It is not the same. As much as people want to believe that it's a hospitality realm, I think it's a different beast. And obviously the times are moving fast, rapidly, like technology coming in and the whole keyless entry and all the boutique hotel stuff that we are doing. But still, it is so crucial to have someone boots on the ground in that place. Like, we wouldn't have never thought of getting a hotel in Lake Chelan if had it not been with our partners. Or we would not have partnered with, or someone approached us to partner on a Waynesville property because we are local to that area. And that is like our backyard. So that's where the strengths come together, and then beautiful partnerships and beautiful deals happen. So.
Well, and I think it's funny because we came to the same conclusion with our STRs is, we should just keep investing in Tucson more and more, because we know the model, we know our buy box, we have the teams, we have the efficiency. Like, let's just keep, and it's too much to invest in a bunch of different markets all at the same time with short-term rentals, because everything's on your shoulders. When you switch to hotels, it actually does open up the door to be able to go more remote, because you can partner strategically, and then the property managers that you hire can be local or they can operate in those space, and they're doing a lot of the heavy lifting on operations for you. So it's not like you can have more hotels spread out across the country, whereas it's harder to do that with homes and short-term rentals, right? I'm not saying it's easy and that there wouldn't be efficiencies of owning all the hotels in one area, but you can go find and buy deals, and it's still going to be strategic for you to own in different areas.
The beauty of, like, with short-term rental, there's this lot of variability. So I feel like there are advantages to both. So as we're kind of thinking about, like, our investment strategy, we are not going all in on hotels or all in on short-term rentals. We believe that there is space for both, because kind of going back to the tax benefits, right? We get the tax benefits on the short-term rental side much higher than on the hotel side because everything's equity is going to drill down. So I have to still keep short-term rentals in my kind of vision that we have to get 1 or 2 short-term rentals this year to make it work if I don't want to pay taxes. But I'm going to get the maximum equity and wealth generation on the hotel side. So there is, you got to keep both of those in your wheel space and turn work both of them.
That's so funny. It's the same conclusion. For so long, I was like, I'm never doing another residential property ever again. And then once I kind of like got over that, I was like, well, if we bought a luxury flip, if we bought $1 million property in a $2 million neighborhood, it's the fastest way to get lending. It's the fastest way to get your tax benefits. We know what it is. We will cash flow, but we can generate a decent amount of equity and we get the tax benefits. And like you said, with the hotels, you're not getting as much as you could as an individual owner on a short-term rental.
The STR loophole. That's right.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Through the STR loophole, it's like, okay, it's still a really good strategy. And so I know I said I'm never buying a house again, but we probably will. It just makes too much sense, So, well, this has been so much fun. I love the two of you. I'm so glad that we met and that you guys were willing to come down here. I'm really excited for what you guys are going to be doing and for the rest of the world to see the things that you're doing and get to experience your stories and your stories together. Where can they get a hold of you if they want to know more about short-term rentals, about interior design, hotels?
You can follow us on Instagram at ishita.interiors. That's my handle. DM me and I'm on it all day, every day. So that's the easiest way to get in touch with me.
Yeah, I think I need to work on my social media a little bit better now that I'm trying to get out of my W-2. But right now, we have a company's called 5 Seasons Homestays, which is our co-hosting sort of thing. That's also a separate thing. But 5seasonshomestays.com or on Instagram, it'll be harshad.lalan.
Harshad.lalan. All right. And Ishita Interiors. Thank you so much. And we'll have all that in the show notes too for everybody. But as always, I appreciate you all out there. I love all of you. And this has been For Your Own Good.